Tim Henman details what he noticed in confused Coco Gauff game during US Open loss. Tim Henman thought Coco Gauff looked confused and too focused on her new serve technique, and that made it impossible for the American to play her best tennis against Naomi Osaka in what was expected to be a highlight of round of 16 action at the US Open quickly turned into a one-sided battle as Osaka controlled the match from start to finish to complete a 6-3, 6-2 win. The Japanese tennis star was impressive, realizing all of her 4 break points, all while not facing a single break point. On the other side, the third-seeded home player was abysmal with her level, committing 33 unforced errors in just over an hour of play. Gauff, who hired a biomechanics coach to help her fix her serve just 7 days before the start of the US Open, had 3 aces and 5 double faults. While the 21-year-old didn't have her double fault number in double digits, that didn't help much since she still didn't manage to do much with her serve. Henman, Gauff's confused, focusing so much on her serve. She needs to decompress. Reflecting on the match on Sky Sports, Henman noted that Osaka looked sharp and locked in right out of the gate. When you think about the other end of the court with Gauff, it just looks like she's so confused out there. It's so stressful. She's focusing so much on her serve, as we all are. When you've got that type of mindset, it's very difficult to play your best tennis, especially against a world-class player who is making life difficult for you, the former British player added on Sky Sports. Gauff is such a good competitor, but you saw at the end of the match that she couldn't wait to get off that court quick enough. We've seen the emotion on the court, in tears at times. It's been almost traumatic at times. She needs a little bit of time away from this environment to decompress and contemplate her next move. In her post-match presser, Gauff said her focus for the rest of 2025 would be on improvements and not the results. Drake has once again stepped into the world of high-stakes sports betting. The famous rapper backed world number 1 Jannik Sinner to defend the US Open crown, wagering $300,000 on the Italian player. If Jannik becomes the first defending champion in New York since Roger Federer and claim his 5th major title, the Canadian's gamble would return $507,000. Drake has been known for putting large sums on major sporting events. He has developed a reputation for mixed results that fans call the Drake curse, and tennis has not been an exception. Last year, Drake lost $210,000 when he backed Taylor Fritz to upset Sinner in the US Open final. However, the Italian emerged at the top in straight sets and celebrated his first trophy in New York. A year later, the rapper is on Jannik's side, backing him to pass 3 more rivals and defend the crown at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Despite his setbacks, Drake has enjoyed occasional success with his tennis wagers. At the beginning of the season, he predicted Sinner's title defense at the Australian Open. The Italian did that in style, dropping 2 sets in 7 encounters and extending his Melbourne reign. It helped him to cut into his overall losses on the sport, although tracking sites suggest he remains down $115,000 on tennis bets alone. The spotlight is back on Flushing Meadows ahead of the remaining 7 singles matches. Drake's latest gamble adds another layer of intrigue while Jannik chases history at the final major event of the season. The rapper's fortune may once again hinge on the Italian's ability to deliver under pressure. Sinner will have to pass Lorenzo Musetti before facing Felix Auger-Aliassime or Alex de Minaur in the semifinal. If he passes these obstacles, the Italian will face the ultimate challenge, Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz in a major final. Justine Henin offered some harsh criticism on Coco Gauff's game following the American's US Open exit, slamming the 21-year-old's forehand as catastrophic and stating that the lack of evolution in the world number 3's game is worrying. Although Gauff was far from her best in her opening 3 US Open matches, she still managed to overcome Ajla Tomiljanovic, Donna Vekic and Magdalena Frech. But against informed Naomi Osaka, the home player stood no chance with her current level, losing 3-6, 2-6. From start to finish, the 2023 US Open champion struggled to find any rhythm and consistency as she finished with 5 double faults and 33 unforced errors. In 4 matches played in New York, Gauff evidently focused on staying committed to her revamped serving technique and reducing her double fault number. But the American just recently started working with biomechanics coach Gavin McMillan, and it will take more time before her serve gets completely fixed. However, Henman, who won 7 Grand Slams during her career, suggests there is something more concerning about the 21-year-old's game than her serving woes. Henman, Gauff's forehand was catastrophic? The lack of evolution in her game worries me. We felt from the start of the match that Coco Gauff had fallen back into her old ways, not especially in terms of her serve but in terms of her forehand. It was catastrophic. Obviously, this enormous pressure at the US Open is special for her, but I still think overall, over the whole season, and not so much on the results, what worries me is the lack of evolution in her game. At that age, you're still progressing, you're still developing, former world number 1 Henman told Eurosport France. After her US Open exit, Gauff vowed to get back to the drawing board and work on her game. The 2-time Grand Slam champion directly told reporters that for the rest of the year, her main priority would be improving her game. Carlos Alcaraz will compete in his 13th major quarterfinal at 22. The Spaniard is through to the last 4 at the US Open without dropping a set, enjoying his tennis after the opening 5 rounds and wishing for more. World number 2 faced Jiri Lehecka in the quarterfinal and ousted a dangerous opponent 6-4, 6-2, 6-4 in an hour and 56 minutes following a flawless performance at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Carlos liked what he produced against the rival who defeated him earlier this year. The Spaniard described his game as nearly perfect and focused on the next challenge. He played with his trademark smile and kept the crowd entertained with spectacular strokes. The Spaniard produced impressive blend of strong serves, efficient net game and rock-solid ground strokes. He hit 28 winners and 17 unforced errors, facing no break points and keeping the pressure on the other side. The Czech struggled to follow that pace despite a decent effort in sets 1 and 3. Lehecka gave away 41% of the points in his games and suffered 4 breaks from 9 chances presented to the favorite. Alcaraz provided a break in the first game of the duel with a crafty drop shot. He missed another break chance in the 3rd game that could have sent him further in front. Carlos fired a powerful serve for 4-2 and repeated that 2 games later for a 5-3 advantage. The Spaniard served for the set at 5-4 and held after a deuce with a forced error, wrapping up the first part of the duel after 41 minutes. The favorite faced no issues in 4 service games of the second set. Alcaraz secured a break at 15 in the first game with a forced error and landed a service winner in the next one for 2-0.